There we go. Okay, I apologize for that. Normally I check that pretty carefully, but I've been doing a lot of recording today so we can get June filled up and I can really work on the new Amateur Extra videos. I've got to get those ready to send off to the league so we can have those posted by the 1st of July. Now, and whoever called, thank you very much for that. And I have a feeling that was Doug Dry who gave me the telephone. He would know that number. Okay, the elephant in the room. I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. As has been noted by many hands, um, the logbook of the world is down. Learn.arrl.org is down. Some parts of just arrl.org are down. Their phone system is down, and I haven't tried their email. I should try emailing myself and seeing if that's down also. Now, I'm going to share with you something that happened to me a couple days ago. After I got back from Dayton, I did spend 2 wonderful weeks on the road for 3 wonderful days at Dayton. And I'm going to put up a video that's kind of my impressions of Dayton. All the other YouTubers, I met some of them there, are putting up their version of Dayton. So we'll have lots of them. The Dayton Hamvention is the largest in the world. I think they had a new record of 34,000 attendees. And there were a lot of people there. A lot of people there. The big new announcement was a new Flex radio. So the rich people have something that costs even more to play with. Um, some people really, really, really love those radios. And if I were a super contester with gobs of money, I might get one myself. Although there's also the Elecraft, which are excellent for that. And even the Icom 7610, which I've used before, is outstanding for those. It's a good contesting radio. Okay, so I'm talking about the league. I got an email telling me there was something in my Dropbox from the league. It was 3 books, electronic copies, PDF copies of the extra class license manual, the general class license manual, and the grounding and bonding book. And I couldn't open any of them. And then there was a 4th one, which was how to open these files. And again, I'm doing this directly from Dropbox, so they're not coming in on my computer directly, but just via Dropbox. And so I guess the security on my computer is better than theirs. But that 4th little file was a ransom note. If you want to read these files, you have to pay a ransom. And so I am thinking, since I got that from the league, and although my computer seems clean, I'm sure there's some special piece of software somewhere that will check for ransomware. But in any event, I think that is what happened to the league. They got hit with ransomware. It's like, I mean, it's not the moral equivalent of, but sort of a sub-moral equivalent of ransomware hitting a hospital. These are people who are trying to do good in the world, who need, please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Okay. Currently, keyframes not being sent, which can cause buffering. Okay, I have no idea how to fix that. It says that the dialogue is poor. Anyway, they have gotten hit. This is an organization that is tax exempt, is trying to do a lot of good in the world, and really doesn't have the money to pay ransoms. Now, the FBI has kind of gotten to the point, at first they said don't ever pay a ransom to anybody anytime. But a lot of people, rich people whose children are kidnapped, pay the ransom. And a lot of people who get their software locked up will pay the ransom. The problem is that if you pay the ransom, you still don't know if these people are going to do what they want. How do you set up a keyframe frequency? I have no idea. Audio bit rate. There's nothing in here that sets up a keyframe frequency. If somebody knows how to do that in OBS, please let me know. Okay, because it looks like it's playing here. Okay. Anyway, the ARRL has been, I believe, from what I can tell, hit with a ransom request. And the old line stuff, like the website itself, was set up by professionals and probably has pretty good security on it. The newer stuff, like Learn and so on, there just aren't the people there who know how to do this, what can be highly technical ransomware protection against these things. So the only other thing that they can do is go and find backups and restore from backups. Most ransomware software tries to get at your backups and just propagate that, but I'm assuming that there are backups. They say that no data was lost for Logbook of the World. And of course, I'm sure they'll get their telephone system back, although some messages may be lost. The League does not really publish any phone numbers. They want you to email them. So that's what's going on with the League right now. Let me tell you a little bit about Dayton. It took 2 weeks, 4 days to get there, 4 fairly frantic days to get there. We once tried to do it in 3 days. We stretched it out to 4, and I think this next time it's going to be 5 days. And then to get back, we took 5 or 6 days because we stopped to see my wife's sister. She is in Nebraska. And somehow we managed to slip in and avoid all that awful weather that is back there. It's really bad. So, with that as kind of a somber background, let's go ahead and start going through the comments. Oh, I just slipped from poor to excellent connection. I'm on Starlink, by the way. Our local internet. Trying to figure out what to do. When we were on this trip, we used our phones as hotspots. And we were able to watch TV shows and the news and stuff like that. And then about halfway through, of course, we used up our allotment. So I am toying with getting a roaming Starlink for the RV. And I'm curious if any of you have had experience with that and have any words of wisdom that you would like to share with me. I'd really be appreciative to learn about them. Well, let's go up to the front here. Leo Gustafson, good afternoon, everyone. Leo checking in from Albany, Oregon, 72 degrees and 70% humidity. 70% humidity in Albany. Nice and sunny, though. Leo, no updates from Buddy Poll yet. Oh, dear. I'm giving Chris some space. You know, I was at Dayton. Shoot. I should have thought of that. I didn't really stop and talk to them because I think they were there. You know, I do have a Buddy Pole antenna, but not one of the big ones. I saw several versions of hex beams, and what I should have done was gotten a better picture of the one I really liked. Their problem that I'm having with mine is that the little plastic things you slip the wire through after 5 years are getting pretty brittle from the UV. And one of these actually wrapped the wire around the outside of the frame and then had something to hold it there. That seems to me to be a little bit more secure to hold it there. Anyway, Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG. Hi, Dave and all Augies from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it's 64 degrees and partly sunny. You know, it was a little bit cool in some ways there in Dayton. It was a lot cooler than I expected. We didn't use our air conditioner very much. We did take the RV. We stayed in the Dayton KOA, which is beautiful. Trees, everything, beautiful. It's a first-class KOA, and they charge first-class rates for it, too. And there's another KOA, the other side of Dayton, going right over the center, that's not nearly as nice, but still nice. And then there's Xenia, which is, if you'll think of this as to the northwest of Dayton as southeast, Xenia is northeast. And it's real hard to get reservations there. I have been on the waiting list to get an RV spot right at the fairgrounds. I've been on that waiting list for years and still have not moved up that waiting list. So basically, people who were there had the right to reserve that spot for the coming year. So there's no lottery or anything like that, which is too bad. Okay, Bill Myers, KE0OG. Hello, Dave and all Augies from northern Wisconsin, 57 degrees, but we have freeze warnings tonight. We've had hummingbirds, orioles, and many other birds at our feeders today. Well, very good. We used to feed the hummingbirds. In fact, Loretta would make gallons of hummingbird food at a time by 1 gallon of water to 1 quart of sugar, and that will not dissolve in the water, all of it. You'll end up with sugar on the bottom. So you boil it and stir it, and that will absorb all of the sugar. And then when you cool it, it will stay in suspension. So you've got, and not suspension, dissolution, dissolvedness. And the hummingbird, it's white, you know, or clear, but the hummingbirds go crazy over this stuff. And we've counted so many hummingbirds, but we stopped doing it a few years ago because it attracts bears. And we have had bears here. Bears got into the neighbor's house. She had a doggy door big enough for greyhounds, and it's also big enough for a small bear. And that was entertaining. She was upstairs in her loft when that bear came in, so she had to scare the bear out of there, and called the wildlife people, and they came out and put out a trap for a day or two, and then took it away. It didn't catch anybody. Lectured us all about how terrible we are because we are attracting their bears and so on. It's really one of those things that leaves you pissed off, you know. but we do get the bears. We have a so-called bear-proof trash can. It's given to us by the trash company. Now, I have come to learn that bear-proof means it takes a bear more than an hour to get in. Now, the thing about that, of course, is that the bear is quite happy to spend more than an hour working on a little challenge trying to get into something. But anyway, so far we haven't had our trash can bearized. Okay, so anyway, Magic Man for Ann. Hi, Dave and Augies, Brian and Sunny, and 25 Celsius. Cheers from Victor Alpha 7 WXZ, which is up in Canada. Steve KD7JVR says, hello, Dave and Augies, worldwide from Phoenix, Arizona, where it's 86 degrees Fahrenheit and not a cloud in the sky. Typical May weather here. Yes, I imagine that it's beautiful. I follow a YouTuber called Tucker Gott. He does videos about paramotors. It's like a parachute. You're flying a parachute, but you've got a motor on your back. And I've been following that for years. He just recently moved to the Phoenix area, so we're getting a little bit of a view of that. Okay, Leo, we had to wait for the rain clouds to part before we saw sunshine in Western Oregon. Chuck Schreiber, good evening, Dave, and all Augies, N5 KVO, from the hill country of South Texas, currently 87. Let's see what it hit today here. High, low, 77. It got up to 77. It's currently done. It's currently 71. Okay, Leo says at least he was able to take the Jeep out. Lefty says, good evening, Dave and Augies Worldwide. Raining here in Davenport, Iowa, and 60 degrees. Von Ziegel, hello, all from Don N6CD. Chuck Weekly, W3BEW, good evening, Dave and all Augies. Now logging in this evening from the Great Smoky Mountains of Western North Carolina. 2 best days, whoops, lost it. 2 best days in aircraft owner's life, day they bought and day they sold. You know, I was looking at a picture I took of the couple standing next to their new airplane, and I wasn't happy. I was very sad, almost shed a tear over it. I personally did not want to get rid of that airplane. I understand all the reasons why I should have. You know, I'm getting to the point where I'm having balance issues, which does not affect my ability to fly the plane, but it does affect my ability to pull it out of the hangar and put gas in it. The day before I sold it, I took it up. I went up to the airport to gas it up because I knew I was going to have to give a ride to the new guy. And I fell twice and needed help both times to get up. So that was embarrassing. And you know, I am getting old, but doggone it. My bucket list item is not to get a pilot's license. It's not to get an airplane. My bucket list item is to fly. And if I'd had my way, I would have flown to Dayton. But, you know. Okay. Let's see. But, yeah. So, anyway, it's gone. In good shape. I haven't heard the owner call me to complain or anything. The money actually came through to me as bank transfers. So I got all of that. In fact, it was completely paid for before we did the final inspection ride. And before we did the paperwork, I went through and did all the paperwork and had it all ready. So he just had to sign a couple places, and then I handed him an envelope with a stamp and an FAA address on it. And I says, these 3 go to the FAA. So I tried to make it easy for them as I could. Mark French says hello. Sigart says hello to all from Northeast Georgia. Leo, does anyone know if there will be a live stream today? Yes, there will. There will, as a matter of fact. Dave, or Larry from the Philippines, hello from Manila. Not seeing anything here. I hope he is okay there. Yes, I am back. Of course, I skipped 2 weeks because we were on the road. Okay. Tonight I will not be able to do the on the air stuff. In fact, we will have to quit about 15 to 20 minutes early, but still trying to get things all straightened out here. Hi all, here in North Texas near Fort Worth, 72 degrees and 81% humidity, but in any case, I enjoy Dave's presentations and God bless to all. Well, Dan, there should be some more videos coming out. Before I left for Dayton, I made sure that there was a video for every day. Now, I want to talk about a gal by the name of Kristen. This Kristen gal is a mucky muck in the ARRL in the Bay Area. She works for Apple, or did. I don't know if she's retired from Apple. She is the ARRL first vice president. When I met her the first time, she was the section manager or something like that. She is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I mean, everything she does is at an engineering level. She has got Maxwell's equations written all over her pajamas. I mean, she's just very, very sharp. She put together a presentation to give at Dayton, and I kicked myself for having missed it. But I viewed it. I viewed it on YouTube, and it was about grounding and some of the myths and so on. And I have received a bunch of comments of people who are not understanding what she really was trying to say. What she was trying to say was, if you live in an area with no lightning, there's no reason to ground. If you do things like put clamp on ferrite beads on all the leads from the power supply all the way to the coax going out so that you don't get noise in or out. And you have to do this with your appliances and things like that. But once you've done that, if you don't have to worry about lightning, you don't really need the ground. That's what she said. Now, I would say that from experience, yes, ground for lightning. As a best practice, do it regardless of where you live. You don't want lightning into your house. So you want lightning arresters, which means a ground rod. Okay. And you might as well ground your station to it if you've done that. The other thing is that it has been my experience that proper grounding can help reduce noise into your radio. That's been my personal experience. And my station's very well grounded right now, and I don't have a problem with that. Of course, I do live in a radio quiet area, but the antennas are outdoors. If there's indoor noise, it doesn't get to the outdoor antennas because they're outdoors, and everything here is grounded, and the shielding going out to the antennas is fine. So, yes, Kristen is absolutely correct that you can put a station together and solve RFI issues in the station with the ferrite beads and stuff, and from that point, you don't need to ground. if you're not afraid of lightning. Okay, if you're not afraid of lightning. Now, I looked up, and I will put in an upcoming video here, some maps showing where lightning is most probable in America. And as it turns out, the San Francisco Bay Area is a pretty lightning-free area. Pretty lightning-free. So your chances of getting hit by lightning are low. Now, that is not true in other parts of the country. And where I live here, we don't get much lightning, but we do get some. Now, the other thing that grounding will help with is the wind coming across a wire or a J-pole or a Yagi or something like that, because that can cause static buildup. A lightning arrestor will dissipate that right away. Okay, so that's another reason I burned out the front end of a 2-meter radio by leaving it connected to a J-pole on the roof without any path to ground. And that created the problem there. So there's my answer. I will put that in a video. I've met Kristen a number of times. I have tremendous respect for her. She has an interesting mind. She truly can think of things that other people don't think of. So was she proper as an ARRL official speaking out against grounding? And I think the answer to that is she was not speaking out against grounding, but she was speaking out against going whole hog over grounding when really you can do other things to improve your station. Again, depending on your risk willingness for lightning. Now, I have had a station that's taken a direct hit, so I'm kind of picky about the grounding. I don't want that to do that to my station again. So now this brings up the point, which I think is perfectly good. I've had a number of people ask me, what do you do for grounding when you're portable? And I think back to a visit I made as an aerospace engineer to a place in Fort Huachuca, I think is what it was, where we went out and observed some Army units in the field with communications gear that they always grounded. And so I think portable grounding, that's not true. If you are not going to be in a situation where lightning is going to be an issue, like POTA, and you're gonna, if a storm came in, you'd disconnect everything anyway. Don't worry about grounding, as long as you don't get RF coming back in through your microphone leads or something like that. And what do you ground to out there? If you're in an RV, a good ground, which is really more a counterpoise, which is capacitive, versus a ground, which is resistive. But if you're in an RV, you can, quote, ground to the chassis. Same with a car. Okay, if you are just sitting in a picnic bench and you've got a mag loop that you're working with right there, don't bother with it. Okay, because you're going to get that thing in out of the rain if lightning starts coming. And you don't want to be around when that happens. So I hope that helps answer some of the questions that came up from Kristen's excellent presentation. By the way, if you want to see it, it's available on the ARRL Space HQ YouTube site. And they've got bunches of stuff up there. They're constantly putting stuff up there. Okay, let's see. Has anyone seen that? Okay, and I had some problems with the audio. Got that fixed. Okay. I got a 4K webcam, which I put right here, and this gives me 4K, and I'm using the audio from the regular webcam here because this one is behind the glass, so I can use this with the teleprompter. Now I got another identical webcam and put it overhead, okay, and that's great. But the problem is this is a 4K device. First of all, it should be 16 by 9 instead of 4 by 3. And it comes up as 4 by 3. And it's not coming up with anywhere near the resolution. And it's an identical camera. A few months later, you know, same model number, same everything. In fact, I quote, reordered this from Amazon, so I'd get exactly the same thing. And it does these strange things. And the problem lies in OBS Studio. And I don't know what to do about it. So if you do, please let me know. Okay. All right. Glenn Martin, hello from far west Missouri. Got that, 41%. Relative humidity and raining. And somebody here, this is Dan. No, it isn't Dan. Somebody wrote not yet. I guess that's KC6ZWM. Ralph Leland, hi Dave, everybody. K4TA in Fork Union, Virginia. Leo Gustafson, I certainly hope Dave is okay. Right here. I got to tell you, when I got home, I was plenty tired. Dave, waiting count is starting to go down, so I guess spokes are leaving. My best guess is he's going to be a no-show. Nope, I'm right here. Wonder if he's on the road to Dayton already. Is this left over from an earlier? Been 15 minutes. Now, that's interesting because I was actually on 2 minutes late, not 15. I'm with you, Lefty 73, everyone, until next week. Heading as well. Hope everything. Did he mention that he would be gone for a few days? Ralph 73, hope you're well, Dave. I'm right here. Probably stuck in a wave trap by a mismatched conjugate. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, so here's this week's. No audio, no audio, no audio, no audio, no audio, no audio. 9th of May. Scheduled for May 9th. Sorry about that. No audio. Did on the no audio, the date. No audio. And yes, we can hear you. Okay. Yeah, I think it was Doug Dry who called and got me squared away. Okay, so Chuck Driver says good evening again. Terrence is with us from London, where it is 2:21 in the morning. Okay. Cody Nelson, watched your video on roof towers lately. What are your thoughts on the towers from Carlson Communications? I have no real experience with roof towers and no experience with Carlson Communications. I would buy it from somebody like DX Engineering, so you can ask them, because they very much have a lot of experience with these people. Okay. It was me, Dave. You are welcome. Glad to hear you back. Well, thank you, Doug, for letting me do that. Okay. Ray Chase visited with ARRL Gent this afternoon. He gave me instructions regarding how to get set up now. He also said their phones are now operating as of today and hopes Logbook of the World will be operating very soon. That's very good to hear. Very good to hear. Shiloh Patton sends several, what do they call those, emojis. The Ham I Am, good evening from New Hampshire, N1PHR. Benjamin Otto at 75 for an electronic subscription for QST. It's not that much if you're just getting the electronic, but not by much. It's in that neighborhood. My comeback to that would be if I let my gas tank in my Jeep get a little bit empty, and I go down to the gas station and I fill it, it can cost more than that $75. So I equate a year's membership in the league with all the information that comes with that and all the things they do for us in dealing with the FCC to a single fill up for my Jeep. To me, I know there's been inflation and everything like that. But filling up your car once, if that's what it costs to join an organization for a year, I'm willing to do it because I'm willing to fill my car. If I run low on gas, I'm gonna fill the car. It doesn't matter how much it costs. In fact, heard somebody recently point out that the gasoline demand is highly inelastic. And the price keeps going up and down, which is more a competition between oil companies. Gasoline in any other part of the world is far more expensive than it is in the U.S. The U.S. net sum, when you take exports, imports, everything like that, the U.S. is and has been for several years now completely energy independent. Now, we do export some stuff to Canada, but then again, they export some different stuff to us. And the same with the stuff that we get from overseas. Where we achieve net energy independence is the fracking of natural gas. And we're using natural gas a lot more for electricity. A lot of people who talk about the coal industry and what all this talk is doing about the coal industry don't really realize that no new coal plants are being built because there's no demand for them. The U.S. has gone hog wild on solar, and not to mention wind. As we drove across Kansas, there were just miles of wind turbines. And they're building a new grid tie system from the heart of Texas up into the heart of Kansas to pull that wind power down into Texas. Texas has gone a little bit over the edge of relying on renewables with the idea that the sun is either shining or the wind is blowing. Well, they had that problem a couple winters ago where there was a period of time where the sun wasn't shining and the wind wasn't blowing, and they didn't have the backup. Now, understand that the nation is divided into 3 grids. There's the eastern, the western, and Texas. Texas has got its own grid. Now, there are interties between the grids, DC interties, so they don't have to worry about keeping a constant frequency across the entire grid. And if a grid gets loaded, the frequency goes down, so that could pull down other grids. So anyway, what people talk about now is we need to take some of the nuclear reactors we have out of mothballs, which, by the way, will be a huge undertaking, and use them because they don't create any carbon dioxide. They don't, they're very extremely reliable. Everybody looks back, well, 3 Mile Island, they released radiation. They released a couple quarts of radioactive hydrogen gas, tritium, basically. Whereas Chernobyl, of course, released tons of stuff into the air. And they've been having an interesting time in Chernobyl. And they've got two species they talk about: the deer, which eat what is above ground, and the radiation in the deer is going down, as you might expect. And that area is open to visitors now. You can't live there, but you can go visit. And then there are the wild hogs, the boars. And the boars root down looking for, quote, deer truffles. And the problem is that their radiation level is not going down. And the answer that they've come up with for that is, since they dig down into the ground, they're picking up radiation ever since the beginning of the atomic age that has come and settled on the top of the topsoil and then leached into the ground. So the boars are still quite radioactive there. I wouldn't eat any wild boar, actually, anywhere. But anyway, okay. So anyway, that's my reaction to $75. When I was a member of IEEE, and I'm talking 20 years ago, I'd be paying $250 for my subscription in my professional society. And so yes, I support the League because the League supports us. The League is the advocacy organization, the only one, for U.S. hams. Note there are two in Canada. There's only one in the U.S. Okay, Joe Tyson says, hello, Dave, from Apex, North Carolina, currently 75 Fahrenheit. Benjamin Otto, if you are an ARRL member, your personal information may have been exposed. They claim it was not. They claim that they do not keep credit card numbers or social security numbers or anything like that. That's the claim. We'll see more about it if it comes out. Bill Myers, KE0OG. Hi, Dave. Glad that you're back from Dayton safely. What happens if I'm running 1,000 watts into my vertical and a small animal is on the radial wires? Will they get a shock? If your radials are insulated, the answer is no, unless they touch the copper at the end of the wire. And the density of the electronic radiation is so low that they probably won't suffer any ill effects at all. Now, when I was in the Air Force, we had a radar site and there was a backup power plant, which we turned on every afternoon when the thunderstorms came through, so we could continue to operate if the base went down. A cat got into the outdoor electric works, you know, the transformers and the switches and stuff like that. And we had an unscheduled outage because of that. And needless to say, there was no cat afterwards. Shame, really. But these cats, you know, they're so careful. They're not careful enough. So, okay, yeah, I don't think you'd hurt that animal. London 19657, good evening all. Hello from London. Joe Mercado, KG7JM. Very best wishes from Lebanon, Oregon. 73 to 70% degrees, 70% humidity. By the way, I would note that, you know, the Dayton trip was expensive. I think I'm about $2.5 grand into it. And it was paid for with channel funds. Now, channel funds count anything that somebody gives me, like $10 that just showed up. Also, there are subscriptions available through PayPal, which is either $5, $10, or $20 per month. And there's lots of fives and a couple of tens. And then there is Patreon, where you can do a 2, 5, 10, or 20 a month. And then you can do a tip jar, which is a one-time thing, and that's via PayPal. And Patreon is at patreon.com/KE0OG, and it'll show you the levels in there. The memberships on YouTube are now set up. You can become a member if you want to. Another thing that you can do is create a super comment on YouTube where you throw in a couple bucks with it, something like that. All this helps as I try to save channel funds. Oh, the other thing I count as channel funds is the money I get from the league to write Ask Dave, and the money that I get from the league to lease to them my training videos as their training videos. And those are available through learn.arrl.org. The general and extra are behind the firewall, whereas the technician are freely available on their YouTube site at ARRL HQ. And if you go ARRL HQ Dave Casler, it'll take you directly to the various playlists of mine that are up there, because every month when I write an article for QST, I give them a video that goes with one of the questions. By the way, I'm about 3 months behind on that, and I don't get paid until I make that video, so it's a priority. So anyway, all that rounded up counts as channel revenue, and that was what I used to go to Dayton and hire assistants and get the right camera equipment and all of that kind of thing so that we can do this. I just really enjoy interacting with you guys. I've been kind of thinking maybe once a month we have to do this on Zoom so that you can respond, verbally. So, and again, as I said, I'm going to have to quit a little early tonight. Is this really from the 9th or is it a rerun? Neither. It's from the 30th of May. Today is the 30th of May. I'm confused. Dave is reading comments that I'm not seeing. I watched your video of roof towers. Okay, we talked about the Carlson. Whoops, I just lost my place here. Okay, agree. Hello from KC2TEL. Doug Dry says, first of all, he's reading from the top before the live stream actually started. Also, you may need to switch from top chat to live chat at the top of the chat window. Okay. Thank you. You know more about this than I do. Robert Vorner put 3 little private airplanes in there. I only need 1. But boy, I've actually thought about getting a little ultralight just so I can wander around, when the days are nice. Thing about, well, you can, if the ultralight is too heavy, it then counts as a light sport. So, and also if you have more than a 5-gallon gas can, it also counts as a light sport. So if you put a 7.5-gallon gas can on it, you've got to get an N number, and counts as a light sport, and that's fine by me. Yes, the dates are off on the video title. I'll try to get that right when I schedule next week. Done much HF from the plane? I haven't done any. I was hoping to do some VHF, but never got around to it. Hoping to do a lot of other things. Glenn K. Hi, Dave and all Augies from W2KXY. Chuck, K6PWC. Hi, Dave and my fellow Augies. 89 degrees Fahrenheit here at home in sunny San Jose, California. Yes, it does get warm there. I have seen, I was in Los Angeles once when it was over 100 in January. So, wild. Ham radio for fun, that's me. She bored me to death. She is very technical. She's extremely technical. Now, I'm pretty technical too, so I kind of enjoy that. But yeah, lightning is looking for ground, so ground your radio to make it attract lightning better. No, it doesn't work that way. The idea is to leave an off-ramp for the lightning outside the house. So if lightning hits your tower, it comes down to the lightning protector, shorts across, shorts to ground, and all of your grounds in the house are bonded. So everything in the ground, everything in the house goes up to the same potential and comes down to the same potential. And remember, it's the potential difference that gets you. So that's why we ground, is to keep the lightning out of the house. Now, antennas are tall structures. They're made of metal. Great lightning rods. Also great for static electricity. John Eckert. Hi, Dave. I'm John Eckert, and on Saturday, June 15th, I'm taking my technician class, and I'm wondering if I should take the test for the general class as well. Here are my thoughts on that. Yeah, go ahead. If you can pass both at the same time, great, because that allows you to put up a general station and get on the air and get some on-the-air experience so that you know what a single sideband contact sounds like and how to tune it. And you've done some contesting and some DXing and so on, and then when you take your extra about 2 years later, it'll really mean a lot to you. I have seen too many people go from 0 to extra in one sitting. These people are really good test takers. And almost 100% of those wander off and are lost. Because they did what they wanted to do with ham radio. They achieved their certificate. Now they can go pursue other goals where they can achieve certificates or whatever. Okay, so, yeah, go ahead and take it. You can pass the tech. You can take the general. I would really recommend that you walk away at that point. Go get your station set up, join a club, join the league, do all of this kind of stuff. Be Joe Ham, get on the air and have fun. All the real fun is on HF anyway. Do POTA, do SOTA, do all of these other things like that, and then come back in 2 years and take your extra. Otherwise, you'll have everything in your pocket and nothing to look forward to, and it can be done, but it's hard. Okay. Doug Dry, Dave, watched Kristen's talk with interest. In my opinion, she didn't contradict any best practices I've learned from you or Ward's books or from my experience running repeater sites. I enjoyed her talk. Yes, she's very technical. And I enjoy I've heard her talk, other talks, and she really tries to grapple with issues in a way that's different from other people. Okay, so let's see, absolutely, John, study. The HF bands are amazing. Benjamin Otto, I wonder if NEC agrees with Kristen. That's an interesting question because the National Electric Code does not really contemplate amateur radio installations. The closest we've got to guidance is the Motorola book, which is referenced in Ask Dave number 8, which is on grounding. That video is a little out of date, but not much. But it does mention that book in there, and that does have grounding their rules, really. I mean, it's more than just best practices. It's their rule that you follow in order to ground these repeater sites and so on. And they talk about a single point ground in the station with one connection to a ground rod, and then with ground rods around the building all bonded together. And while that may seem expensive, it's worked for years. Bill Myers, let's see, N0VTY. I got hit by lightning a few years ago. Everything was grounded in and around my house. The lightning came in on the grounds. It can happen. As I've said many times, all bets are off in a direct strike. I got, like I said, a direct strike. It vaporized the antenna. It literally blew a hole in the coax at a high voltage point. Fortunately, my radio was completely disconnected, but it did disable the power supply. It was one of the Astrons that was the old analog style, and the replacement chip was literally $1. So I fixed that. My tuner, it welded across the capacitor. I was able to break that and get it kind of filed down a little bit, put everything into action. The thing it did destroy was our garage door opener. The thing set the garage door to open and keep opening and keep opening and keep opening and keep opening until it just started to grind itself to pieces. And so I unplugged that. It also destroyed my Hayes smart modem. Now, those of you who can remember that will know that the Hayes smart modems were the cat's meow at one point, quite some time ago. And I had paid over $300 for that thing. And the insurance company gave me $30 for it and said, go buy a new one. And I thought, you can't do that. So I went down to the computer store, and sure enough, you could buy an even better modem for $30. So times changed. Wow. Okay, let's see. How would you suggest a person to achieve RF ground on the second floor of a house? The same thing. Run the coax outside the house, down to the ground rod where your lightning arrestor is, then into the house and up to your second floor shack. Or if you have to run it outside the house, separate the incoming from the one going up to your room. I know a guy who does this, and it works well for him. Okay, you know, lightning is a funny thing. So's Mother Nature. In spite of our best efforts to define her and tame her, she does what she doggone well pleases. So, let's see, where was I? Okay. Bill Myers, lefty, now he's on the correct live chat. Okay. These must be old. Okay. Loud and clear from Byron, Georgia. John Eckert, thank you, Bill Myers. And maybe you know, if I take my tech and general at the same time, do I get 2 licenses, the tech and general, or only for the general? The answer is very simple, only for the general. Because the general completely encompasses all the privileges of a technician, just as the extra completely encompasses all amateur privileges. Okay, Jeff McFarlane, hi Dave, KD9ZSI. Quiet Side of Paradise, can't help making antennas from junk and minimal and all that. I have a 5/8 for 40 meter vertical up from scrap aluminum over metal post steel hog wire fence. Opinion worth adding real radials. I think you will find that if you add 16 to 20 real radials, I'm talking 25 to 30 feet long, you will see a difference in improvement. The gasoline analogy is interesting, but too many people do not understand all the services the ARRL has to offer. They just see a monthly magazine. Yes, that's true. And for most hams, their interface with League is the monthly magazine. But there is so much more that they do. And so on. And they try hard to keep in touch with the hams. General class, yeah, right, okay. Wish you good luck. Love your videos as a new ham from Not Sure. Well, change that to Be Sure. Or I Am Sure. John Ward, welcome back from W3OJ. Bill Myers, KE0OG, has added $10. Thank you for sharing your amateur radio wisdom. We all appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much. Chris Goodman, K0BLU. We take it for granted that we have AC compatibility in our nation. Yes, one needs travel adapters for other nations. Yet Japan has 100 volt 50 hertz in Eastern Japan and 100 volt 60 hertz in Western. My dad tells me about the time when he was growing up in Downey, California, and they had 50 hertz there. There's a little island of 50 hertz. And they finally decided that they were going to get on the 60 hertz bandwagon. So they had to go around and gather up everybody's electric clocks and issue them new electric clocks. Because the electric clocks use synchronous motors that stay synced up to the 60 hertz, which in spite of what it says can vary a bit. But Hoover Dam at the time, the power plant put out both 50 and 60 hertz and because of the differences, and they finally gotten rid of the 50. So. Chris Goodman, K0BLU Japan since 1896. Mr. G, greetings from KD9FCZ. Benjamin Otto, they say a cat has 9 lives. He spent every one on that. Yeah, I guess one per toe or whatever. Chris Goodman, K. It doesn't show. Whoops. Oh, come on, don't do that. Chris Goodman, K0BLU, I think. Yes, BLU, has added $20 to the chat revenue and saying enjoying the simple pleasures of freedom. Yes. Colin and VK, actually it is the 31st there, yes, and it's already the 31st in the UK, okay. N0VTY, use a big kite. Now, if you put up a kite with a bare wire and you get that up and the wind blows across that thing, be careful touching that wire because the voltage potential there can be very high. And is there enough power there to actually power something? The answer is yes. It's just so impractical. Okay. Sean, KM6NFO, adds $20 to the chat revenue. Thank you. Says, welcome back, Dave. The heat here is in Sacramento. How can I ground a station on the second floor with concrete all around? I'm wondering if that building was built with an OOFR ground. The floor, the pad, has got lots of rebar in it. And concrete is stone. It's artificial stone, but it is stone. And so if you stick a long piece of rebar in there, kind of cattywampus to everything else, and part of that rebar is sticking up in the basement or whatever, that's a good ground. You can use that ground. OOFR grounds were invented, believe it or not, by some poor guy named OOFR. And he was having a problem in Arizona for the Army stuff that he was being put in at the time. They couldn't, I mean, it was just rock. And so there are a couple ways you can deal with that. One is to dig 2 trenches, lay a ground rod in each one, connect them together in the middle into what you need to connect it, put so-called ground enhancement material in that, and then cover it back up. And you've got as good a ground as you can get. Or you can do over ground, because that cement, which is rock, makes a pretty good connection to the ground. So you can do that. It's rock on rock. Okay, so that's something that you can do. If you're on the second floor of a concrete building, I'm a little surprised. I wouldn't think the concrete would go up to the second floor. Most apartments are built these days with the bottom floor being brick, not brick, I'm sorry, block, cinder block or whatever, and then wood for the next 4 stories up. It's special wood that's been treated not to burn. And those buildings are actually pretty inexpensive to put up. And, well, you may have to go out the window and see what you can do with that. Ground a station on the second floor with concrete all about. Oh, now maybe you're talking about concrete on the ground all the way around. Well, do what you can. I mean, you can always take Kristen's suggestion, just not grounding it. Now, note that if you plug a power supply into the wall with the three-prong plug, which they all come with, that the third prong gets to the electrical system neutral, which is connected at the box, to the ground. And so you've got a path for stray electrons or something like that. If you don't have lightning, you're going to end up grounding your station via that anyway, because what happens is that third wire, green wire ground, goes into the power supply and connects to the black output, the DC 0-volt output. And I've tested a number of power supplies and found that to be the case. So your radio's not really floating. It's got a connection in there. Okay, so I think if you have concrete all the way around, there are a couple ways you can deal with it. If somebody has put in an over ground, you can use that. It's usually found in the basement, okay, in a corner or something. Or you can always drill a hole that you can drive a ground rod into. That's the expensive way out. But it might be the way you want to do depending on lightning in Sacramento. I don't seem to recall a lot around there, but you do get thunderstorms there. So, okay, Optical Man Jeff, $15. Thanks, Dave, for all that you do. Glad you are back. We all missed you. Well, thank you. I've got 1 hour. It's the AHRW. Air hour. Oh, my Spanish is high school. Juan, I recognize. Dave, greetings from Argentina. Thank you very much. John Ward, Dave, I was wondering if you're going to do a video on Dayton. Yes, of course I will. Mr. G. Dave, I was wondering where your general class videos went or how I can obtain those videos. They are behind the paywall at the League. You go to learn.arrl.org once they get it back up, and you log in with your ARRL credentials. And then you look the various activities there that's in the on the air section, and you go in and you find a whole bunch of playlists on everything from MCOM to POTA to everything. And 3 of those playlists they have the tech in there too, and the general and the extra. But that's where they are. Remember, the League is paying me every month to rent those videos. And they're heart is heart's goodness only extends so far. And then they want you to be a member of the league before you get those. So that's where they are. And I've got a video up there on how to find them. Okay. N0VTY, I went and tested all at once, been addicted ever since. Good for you. Note that you are rare. Okay. But I'm glad you did it. I congratulate you for your persistence. Justin Roth, a new ham at the tech level, currently studying for the general. Love the hobby. The people I'm meeting are wonderful. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us noobs. 73. Thank you. Leo Gustafson, hello Dave and Augies. Leo, checking in from Albany, Oregon. 67 degrees and 60% humidity. Daryl Milner is scheduled to take his tech on the 8th of June. And I will point out that it is possible to test online. More VEs are starting to do this, including the league. Now, sure, testing in a regular test setting is nice, but you can do it at home. Usually it ends up being done in the bathroom because you need to point your camera all the way around the room and show that there's no internet access, no phones, no nothing, no way that anybody can get information to you. And then they're going to want to have the camera set up in such a way that they can see you the whole time. And that works. I mean, you're going to be taking your test online, so you'll get instant grading, and they'll print out or email you a CSCE. By the way, there's an interesting story that goes behind that. The Alaska VEC was doing some online testing because of the vast distances in Alaska and the very thin population. And the league allowed that when it set up the VE program. And then people were saying, with the pandemic, why can't we test online? And we need to have rules that allow us to test online. And people went to the FCC with this, and the FCC says, if you look at how the VE testing system was set up, you've already got the ability to do that. So everybody found out what the Alaskan VEC was doing and have been doing it down in the lower 48. Okay, let's see. So good luck to you, Daryl. 56K modem. Oh, and they could only do 53K because of a technical limitation on the audio levels on the phone. Leo, Daryl, take the general qualification same time. Yes, there's quite a bit of crossover. Doug Dry, logging into the tech videos are generally available. They are. Yeah, okay. I have an old 16th edition of the antenna book coming next week. Given personnel shortages, the hex beam is still languishing at Buddy Pole. I don't fault Chris in any way, though. Okay, the 16th edition of the antenna book is old, but you'd be surprised how little has changed. The golden age for antennas was the 30s and 40s. So, everybody is having trouble getting staff. Now, part of that problem will be addressed. A number of the migrants from Venezuela have been here the requisite 6 months to get a work permit. So if there's somebody around who can instruct these people in Spanish of what to do, and this is classic immigrant thing. The immigrants always come in and take the lowest level jobs. Because the immigrant is not coming usually for their own benefit. They're coming for the benefit of their children. That was the same way with my family when my ancestors came into the United States. So if you are a business owner and you have a position you're having trouble filling that is, quote, low level, from sweeping the floor to laying out inventory to whatever, take a look now, because a lot of these people now have their work permits. So it's just a way you can get some more stuff done. Okay. Leo, I saw him in footage of the Ham Fest in Ohio. He's got many other hams than I to wrangle out those spreaders. Quiet Side of Paradise, VYTY. New one on me. Have to figure out a way to do it, and easy to undo. Setups don't tend to stay more than a few weeks before I chase another rabbit. Yeah, I know. The most experimented with piece in your amateur station is your antenna. Because everybody has always got an idea in their head for their next antenna, including me. So, the ham I only use an Antron, or 99, can never afford a hex beam. I saved, but the prices went up again. The wind tore up my G5 RV. That must have been some wind. Was never a good antenna anyway. I agree with that. The G5 RV. There's a ZS update to that antenna that you can build. Use an Antron A99 on top. The single-story building I used to work in, 11 meters. We could reach the freeway 11 miles distance, so I could reach drivers to check road conditions for our drivers at Skinny Mutt. Great antenna, that. Maybe QST will improve if it's not cover-to-cover MFJ ads. I spoke with the ARRL treasurer at Dayton on this very subject. I said, you just lost a major advertiser. What are you going to do? And he says, we don't know yet, but we're going to go after a lot of the people who are big sellers in the ham radio and say, look, support us at the league, advertise in QST. Because there's a lot of people who have stuff in there now they really don't need to have. Do you really need an advertisement every month for Yaesu? Well, they support the league by buying their advertising, and they've got 11 pages that they've got to find buyers for. If you want to advertise in QST, they would be very happy to talk with you. Okay. What if your station is on the second floor, but your antennas are in the attic? Not worried about lightning? Well, lightning can go anywhere, but then need good RF ground. Take a look again at Kristen's presentation. Her concern was RF getting into her microphone and stuff like that, and she went the route with lots of little clamp-on ferrite chokes that you can clamp on. She had them clamped on everywhere, and it pretty well took care of signals on the outside of the cables and stuff like that. And you can do that. You can do that. I would still provide some path to ground. As I said, plugging in your power supply will provide a path to ground to bleed off static and stuff. I'm still not any less devoted to the idea of grounds. Okay. What if your station is on the, we just did that. They also hired the previous CEO, who had something like 300 lookups on QRZ, but the league does a lot of good with education, and maybe the Spectrum Defense Fund actually makes a difference. Yes. The previous CEO, I don't know much about him, but he never got the confidence of the board, and so he did not have his contract renewed. And so he wasn't fired per se, but that's the equivalent of being fired when they don't renew your contract. And so now they've got people in there who look like they're going to be there quite a while. I've talked to both of them. We've got the CEO and the president, and they were both at Dayton at the same table, and I had a chance to talk to both of them. So, seriously hoping to make it to the Dayton in 2025. Do you think that I will be there next year? Yes, I'm hoping. Very thank you, 73. Okay. Quiet Side of Paradise. Funny how many folks make fun of MFJ gear but run it, and they spend lots of money back into our community. Yes, they do. Yes, lightning goes where it wants. Talked with sales rep from Rohde and Schwartz. At MFJ, they have interesting ads with reference materials. I think they would be an important contributor to amateur radio. They could be. They're very different mindset. They build a professional level test equipment that costs in the tens of thousands of dollars for things. And they're quite willing to tell you without any bashfulness that they're the best in the business. They probably are. It issues one piece of MFJ gear was very end. Don't forget to hit the like button. You're doing well. Okay. Read about using parallel coax stubs for matching. Yes. In practice, what are good ways to connect 3 pieces coax into a Y shape for a parallel stub? That sounds like fodder for a video. That is addressed in the extra class stuff, the training, but there's nothing in there that gives a lot of practical advice on that. I need to go. I'm over time because I was supposed to go earlier, but I want to say thank you to all of you for funding my trip to Dayton. I shook hands with probably 200 Augies there. I told everybody, if you see me there, stop me and shake my hand. And I shook hands with at least 200 or 300 people while I was there. It was wonderful. I had a chance to talk, and it was just great. After all, hams have a federal license to talk, so we should use it. So thank you all very, very much. I'll set up next week, which is whatever it is next week, and we'll have our first conversation of June. By the way, Field Day is coming up in June. Prepare for it. Probably the easiest way to do it is to go to a Field Day site put on by your club or some other organization like that. You can do individual Field Day participation from home. If you do it on commercial mains, you're Class 1D. If you do it with emergency power, like my station right now is completely powered by solar, so that'd be Class 1E for one person at home on emergency power. So 73, and we'll see you next week.